Hi, Julissa. Welcome to If Innovation Could Talk.
Hi, Eva. Good to be here.
Now, Julissa, you have coined the term brand culture, and it is used to describe the connection between an organization culture and its brand. What inspired you to come up with this innovative focus to help businesses?
Well, I see brand culture as quite simply brand expression through your people. And I see a lot of gaps in this area when I go into organizations. First of all, at the board level, I think that culture is now something that is being addressed quite broadly across boards, but brand is something that is still not seen as the domain of the board. And that connection between the two and how they work together isn't something that's always led from the top. When I go into organizations, I see that individuals don't necessarily understand what the brand is about, what it stands for, or what it means in their own life on a daily basis in their work. So when I ask individuals, what does the brand mean to you in your daily work? They find it really, really hard to answer that question. And I also see that organizations are doing exercises around brand and purpose, but that doesn't mean it translates into a meaningful strategy for what they're going to do on a day-to-day basis. So this is where I see some gaps in how brand and culture connect, and I think it's a really important aspect to address.
Now that we are in a digital age, how does a business actually build trust and gain trust? And is it any different to individuals trying to do that, trying to achieve trust in a digital age?
Sure. So if you look at the Edelman Trust Barometer over the last couple of years, there's been some significant shifts there. So that barometer is a measure of public trust in institutions across the world. And it's made up of a measure of competence and ethics. So those two elements help us to be able to trust institutions. In early 2020, when the report came out, businesses were very much in question. And I think that has been reflected in royal commissions over the last few years in Australia. And trust in general in business has gone down over the last few years. But with the significant changes across the globe that we've had in a very short period of time in 2020, this has actually shifted. So the 2021 report suggests that people actually trust businesses much more than they used to, and that in fact they trust them more than governments in 18 out of 27 countries that were surveyed. So in terms of businesses, how they can build or rebuild trust in the digital age, there are some different aspects that need to be considered. So for example, how culture is displayed online is one aspect, and it's something that is very, very visible. Even though we think of culture as intangible, it is publicly visible in the online space these days. Also, how engaged your staff are with the brand and how well they understand it, as I said before, that determines how well they express it outwardly and build trust with stakeholders. And finally, how empowered your staff are to build trust as individuals when they're building relationships through the business. So all of these areas have a very strong online component these days, and they help to build trust in the business. To give you an example, I use the brand expression quadrant as a tool for businesses to measure how their brand is expressed in unplanned and planned ways, in internal environments and external environments with outside audiences, and in the online and offline spaces. So it's not that we can control every aspect of these areas or what our staff do in every situation, but it's important to be aware of them and to map it out so that you can actually look at what needs to be addressed. And that might involve things like social media policies, it might involve training, it might involve strategy. And finally, at the individual level, you can build trust through your personal brand. And this is something that I do a lot of teaching about. So your personal brand involves your positioning, your visibility, your communication of your personal brand and what it is you want to say to particular audiences. And if you can really clarify the value that you bring in your work to other people and you can communicate with confidence, that is going to then build trust with your audiences.
That is absolutely fascinating, Julissa. I have learned a lot out of this conversation today. Really appreciate it. And thank you for your generosity in sharing with If Innovation Could Talk.
Thanks so much, Eva. It was great to be here.